Ugh. Ugh. Actually, when was the last time I watched Sagwa the Chinese Siamese cat? Good question. Last time I got too bored watching Deer Squad and I decided to watch Sagwa the Chinese Siamese cat. And speaking of the Chinese Siamese cat, I haven't watched Sagwa the Chinese Siamese cat for 7 days. 7 days? But that's been hours. But I haven't watched Sagwa for 9 days. I didn't watch on October or November or December or January or November or February or March or April or May. I got to watch Sagwa the Chinese Siamese cat, but what about last time when I accidentally turned Sagwa and Dogwa into paper puppets, where I said, and then Sagwa, Dogwa, Shigwa says, "Hi, Mrs. Anna." Then I said, "Hi, Dogwa. Hi, Sagwa. Hi, Shigwa." And just like that one, I said, "Hi, Shigwa, what are you guys doing here?" And then Shigwa says, "We just want to ask you something." "What's that?" Where I said, "You mean this?" And then Dongwa says, "Ah! What is that?" Where I said, "My paper puppet. It kind of looks like an ogre." And then Shigwa laughed. Shigwa says, "Ogre?" And that is really funny. Your puppet just like an ogre. And then I said, "I know, Shigwa." And just like that when I said, "I know, Shigwa." It is kind of funny. But let's just fix that problem where Shigwa says, "Great idea." Where I said, I don't know. Now it kind of looks like a sparkly ogre wearing a tiara. And then Sangwa, Shigwa, and then Dongwa. And I laughed. We went, Sangwa went, "It is kind of funny that your puppet kind of looks like an ogre with a tiara." Where I said, "I know, Sangwa." Where I said, "Well, thanks for helping, guys, but any ideas?" Where Shigwa says, your tablet kind of looks just like your paper tablet, Anna." Where I said, I know, Shigwa. Where I said, "Wait, Shigwa, you're right. The paper puppet kind of looks just like my tablet. What if we unleash the spell and then it looks just like me? So let's do it." Where I said, "Magic, magic, magic. Let this puppet look just like me." And then I said, "Uh-oh, I don't think I got the words right." And then I said, "Shigwa, look out!" And just like that one, I said, "Shigwa, look out!" And then Shigwa said, "Sangwa, Dongwa, look out!" And then Sangwa and Dongwa said, "Ah!" And then I said, "Well, that didn't help, right, Shigwa?" Then Shigwa said, "Yeah, I know." I said, "Well, Sangwa was right. Sangwa, Dongwa." Then I said, "Oh no, I made them disappear." Then Sangwa said, "No, you didn't. We're down here." Then I said, and then Dongwa says, "Well, that didn't work." And